Employees love having the flexibility of working from home. In fact, a study by Gallup shows that 9 in 10 workers prefer working remotely or having a hybrid arrangement. Employers, on the other hand, are increasingly forcing employees back into the office. It's kind of strange, as studies have shown that during the pandemic, remote work actually improved employee productivity. Having to work from home eliminates commute times for workers. The average US employee spends an average of 1 hour a day commuting for work. Employees also don't have to spend time navigating between meeting rooms in offices. Nonetheless, companies insist on having their employees come back to the office for some portion of the work week. There are 3 possible reasons for this. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Dark Mode Digest, where we explore the most important topics in tech. If you're new to this channel, consider subscribing so you don't miss out on what's happening. In this episode, we'll delve into the 3 main reasons why employees are being forced back into the office, and on the flip side, which companies have gone fully remote. Some have even deprecated their own offices. Here we go. The pandemic was eye-opening for many companies. Employers realized how much they've overhired and how much their costs have ballooned up. Meta, Google, Stripe, and Airbnb, Silicon Valley's biggest tech companies in the world, hired too many employees. It was to the point where a good portion of employees were working on unnecessary products or internal tools because they had nothing to work on. Meta uses the Microsoft Office for its workplace productivity apps. It had a whole team working on an internal calendar app, even though it already had a calendar app inside Microsoft Outlook, its email app. So these companies had massive layoffs in 2022. Fast forward to today, these companies are still too big. In comes the first reason for forcing employees back into the office. Return to office gives workers a real excuse to leave the company on their own accord. Rather than having another round of layoffs, employers can order a return to office and let employees choose whether or not to leave. It's an effective strategy to avoid bad press on another round of layoffs. Amazon CEO Andy Jassy notably mandated his employees to work from the office at least 3 days a week. He even said it's probably not going to work out for employees who defy return to office policy. After Elon Musk bought Twitter, he conducted several rounds of layoffs. His first memo to his staff included an order to return to offices full time, not giving employees the choice. It's actually been a pretty effective strategy. Many angry Amazon and X employees left due to these reasons. Google, Meta, Apple, and Uber have all enforced return to office for some days of the week. Now, let's get into the second reason for these new return to office policies. A study by Microsoft shows that working from home during the pandemic causes employee groups to be less interconnected, less collaborative, and more siloed. Some forms of communication did work, however, like emails and Teams chat. But the company found it more difficult for its employees to convey complex information while working remotely. According to some high-profile CEOs, collaboration and connection are crucial for most or all workers, especially for those early in their careers. In Amazon's CEO Andy Jassy's memo on return to office plans, he stressed collaborating and inventing is easier and more effective when we're in person. For an entertainment and media company like Disney, its CEO Bob Iger expressed the importance of connection in the workplace. He wrote in his company memo, "In a creative business like ours, nothing can replace the ability to connect, observe, and create with peers, and that comes from being physically together." Next, the last reason for return to office. Even though there have been many studies that show employee productivity increased across several measures when working remotely, company leaders have a hard time actually believing their employees are being productive. This led to some employers adopting surveillance tools for their workers' devices. A study showed 57% of bosses said they don't trust their employees to work without in-person supervision. For some of these leaders, maybe the micromanagers, it seems as if they miss having that feeling of control over their workers. Most companies have enforced return to office policies, but there are, however, a handful of companies that have gone fully remote. Let's delve into this. Airbnb notably overhired and lost 80% of its business overnight due to the pandemic. It had massive layoffs, and this was eye-opening to its CEO, Brian Chesky. He restructured his entire org and let workers, roughly 6,000 employees, work from anywhere with regular meetups structured around product releases. Twilio, the customer communications platform, has no return to office rules for its 6,400 workers. In fact, about 60% of its workforce is in locations where the firm historically hasn't had offices. Atlassian, the company providing team collaboration software, has committed to a workplace model without mandatory office attendance. With more than 11,000 employees, it has committed to distributed work at this scale. Atlassian has found that for its workers, removing collaboration with periodic in-person gatherings boosted its productivity and allowed it to recruit better talent. In fact, more than half of its workers hired during the last year live over 2 hours from an office. Dropbox famously adopted its own program dubbed Virtual First, where employees are expected to work virtually at least 90% of the time and only come into the office for occasional group gatherings in their office spaces. Its offices have been redesigned explicitly for group brainstorming sessions, special education meetings, and fun activities like happy hours. Some other notable companies that are remote first are Zapier, Stack Overflow, GitLab, and Okta. The push by companies to get employees back into offices has been more driven by industry giants. Smaller firms have been more likely to stick with remote work policies. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this episode, check out my other mini tech documentaries. Catch you later.